You know, when we think about our health, our minds usually jump to our hearts, or maybe our weight. But what about the single most complex and important organ we have, our brain? Now, protecting it might sound like this huge, complicated thing, but what if I told you the way to a healthier brain was actually simpler and, frankly, way more delicious than you ever thought possible? Okay, let's get into it.
First, to even begin to understand the brain, you have to appreciate its unbelievable infrastructure. Get this, you have 400 miles of blood vessels inside your brain. 400 miles! That's not just a fun fact. These vessels are literally the highways and byways of your health, working 24/7 to deliver all the oxygen and nutrients that this superpowered organ needs just to function.
So you have this incredible 400-mile network that's so powerful, but it's also really vulnerable. And when the circulatory system starts to fail, when those highways get clogged up or damaged, the consequences can be, well, devastating. This breakdown is really at the core of what we call cognitive decline.
And that brings us to the hidden engine of brain health. Your brain is just so incredibly dependent on a healthy blood supply. And honestly, understanding this relationship, this link between blood flow and brain function, that's the absolute key to figuring out how we can prevent something like dementia.
Now, you hear the word dementia thrown around a lot, kind of like it's this one single thing that happens when we get older, but it's not. The reality is the two most common causes of dementia are actually two very different problems happening inside the brain. So let's break that down.
All right, so on one side, you've got vascular dementia. This is the most common kind, and you can basically think of it as a plumbing problem, a clogging problem. The pipes, your blood vessels, they get narrow, they get stiff, and blood flow just slows to a trickle, starving parts of the brain. But then you have Alzheimer's, and this is totally different. It's not just a clog, it's a toxin problem. It's where faulty blood vessels are actually leaking poison into your brain.
And here is where it gets super interesting and kind of counterintuitive. You'd think that a brain with Alzheimer's would have fewer blood vessels, right? That makes sense. But the research actually shows the opposite. Their brains grow more blood vessels. The huge problem is, these new vessels are junk. They're abnormal, they don't work right, and they don't actually help with blood flow at all.
So here's the kicker. These faulty vessels aren't just passively failing. They're not just bad at their job. They become these tiny little factories for destruction. They are actively pumping out neurotoxins that kill brain cells, and they even create the materials that build up that infamous plaque we always hear about with Alzheimer's. It's literally an attack from the inside.
Okay, I know that sounds pretty bleak, but here is the turn. Here's the empowering part. Our bodies are not helpless in this fight. We have these incredible built-in defense systems, regeneration systems, and we can actually turn them on. The key? It's right there on our dinner plates, and how it works is just fascinating.
So check out this process. It's amazing. You eat certain foods, we're talking things like dark chocolate or beets, and your body responds by producing this molecule called nitric oxide. That nitric oxide basically tells your blood vessels to just chill out and widen, which immediately improves blood flow. But then it gets even better. That same nitric oxide sends out a signal that calls your body's healthy stem cells out of your bone marrow. Think of them as your internal repair crew. They get to work fixing and maintaining those all-important blood vessels, keeping your brain healthy and well-fed.
All right, so what are these powerhouse foods that can kickstart our body's own regeneration team? Let's get really practical here and build ourselves a grocery list based on this science. So to really get that nitric oxide production going, the research points to a few heavy hitters. Dark chocolate, specifically the cacao in it, is a fantastic one. Beets are another powerhouse, and spinach. These are some of the best foods for helping to widen those blood vessels and call in that stem cell cavalry. Now, if we zoom out a bit, Dr. William Li, whose work this is all based on, points to 5 major food groups he thinks are crucial. We've got coffee and tea, tree nuts like walnuts and almonds, tomatoes, berries, especially raspberries, which are just loaded with fiber, and of course, more leafy greens like bok choy and kale.
Okay, so what about supplements? It's a huge question, right? Well, the philosophy here is super simple. Food first, always. Supplements are not a replacement for a good diet. They are exactly what the name says. They supplement. They're just for topping off what you might not be getting enough of from your food alone.
So what's that look like in the real world? Well, Dr. Li personally tops off with vitamin D and omega-3s, because those can be tough to get enough of. And then he also takes 2 really specific probiotics. One is called Akkermansia, which is tied to a better metabolism, and the other is Lactobacillus reuteri, which is fascinating. It can lower inflammation and actually prompt your brain to release social hormones like oxytocin.
You see, when you put this all together, it's about more than just a list of foods or a few pills. What we're really talking about is a totally new philosophy of health. It's about shifting our mindset from defense to offense, from just treating problems to actively regenerating our bodies.
And this quote right here, it just perfectly captures the whole spirit of it. This shouldn't be about restriction or forcing yourself to choke down foods you can't stand. The most powerful strategy is to find those foods that are great for you that you also genuinely love to eat.
And that's maybe the biggest takeaway of all. The perfect diet plan is completely useless if you hate it and quit after a week. The best plan is the one you can actually stick with long term. So just look at a list of healthy foods and start with the ones you already like. It's that simple. It makes being healthy a joy instead of a chore.
So I'll leave you with a simple question to get you started on this. Thinking about all the stuff we just talked about, the berries, the dark chocolate, the coffee, the nuts, what's one brain-healthy food that you already love that you could start leaning into, maybe even today?